Yo, C Wells here. Hello, all of you lovers of violence in the UFC and mixed martial arts fight fans. This is going to be my review and analysis of UFC Fight Night Santos versus Ankalaev. If you're new here, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Please consider doing so. I really appreciate you. You are my friends. We are a community. We are in our own little corner of the world, enjoying people beat the fuck out of each other on television for our enjoyment. These gladiators, these modern day gladiators. If you enjoy discussions like this, if you enjoy mixed martial arts, start a conversation in the comment section, and I'll be sure to check out your comments, and I will be responding to them as they flow in. Now, let's start off. If you guys don't have ESPN Plus, by the way, and you call yourself a fight fan, UFC, for the past couple of years, even during the lockdown, UFC has been putting on fights ridiculously at a ridiculous pace. And they are banger shows. And not all of them can be broadcast on ESPN. And not all of them are pay-per-views where it's fucking inching closer to that $100 mark. But you have to have ESPN Plus if you're a fight fan, because if you miss some of these prelims, the prelims are bangers. They're low-key bangers. And these are the up-and-coming fighters that you're eventually going to see on your pay-per-view cards and on your fight night cards that are going to be showcased on, the regular flagship ESPN channel. So if you don't have ESPN Plus, get it. It's worth it, especially if you love watching people choke each other and kick each other in the head. With that being said, these prelims didn't disappoint either. I'm not going to go into them fight by fight, but there's a lot of finishes as per usual on the prelims. The prelims are usually people that want to prove themselves. That's why I love about, showcasing these new fighters, these up and coming fighters. They're probably, coming off of the regional scene. They have something to prove, and they definitely want to make a nice showing, either in a UFC debut, or maybe they lost their debut and they have something to prove, or either they are coming into a short notice replacement bout. Either way, these new young fighters that showcase themselves on the prelims, they're always hunting for finishes, knockouts, submissions, and you're never going to be disappointed. They might not be household names, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you love the sport of MMA. So get yourself a fucking ESPN Plus subscription. Stop fucking around. Watch these people. Watch their careers progress, and watch them as they come up through the rankings. Speaking of someone that's coming up through the rankings, there's one person I'm going to mention that was on the prelims. Chris Montano. I think that's how you say his name. How the fuck do you say this guy's name? Montano? Chris Montano? The Green Zombie. The green the Green Zombie that fought Sean O'Malley, and he just wouldn't go down, and Sean O'Malley hit him with literally everything in his arsenal. And I believe that was a pay-per-view main carder too. That was on a main card. But Chris Montano, or Montano, I believe that's how you say his name. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, Chris. But he had a showcase on the prelims, which I think is his rightful spot, given his UFC status and his career so far. I think he has some holes in his defense that he might need to work on. He's easy to hit. Typically 135ers, they don't. I mean, the game is starting to change now. There are some really heavy hitters in the 135-pound division, but typically they don't have that power, to get somebody out of there. But he ran into someone that had the power to get you out of there. Sean O'Malley has the power to get you out of there too. It's just statistically, it's not gonna happen as it would in the higher weight classes. They just don't carry the same punching power. It can get you out of there with a submission, but he's just too easy to hit. He's in the right spot on the card. I hope he has a bounce back, but that just goes to show that Sean O'Malley's being built up as he should be, because he's a personality. He has, I guess, the it factor the UFC is looking for. You know, he has that I guess connection with the kids, the younger generation of MMA fans. He has his podcast and his show, and he could talk. He's good on the stick. But they're giving him someone that I believe was on the second fight of the UFC prelims. Nothing against Chris. He just has some little holes in his defense that he needs to shore up. Maybe some foot movement, some head movement. He needs to tuck his chin a little better. Needs to know when he's in danger to get out of danger. I think he takes a shot too well for his own good. But he doesn't fall, to his own fucking credit. But you know, the game is hit and not get hit. So that's my major takeaway from the prelims. I believe the main card started off with Bruno Silva versus Alex Pereira. Yeah, I think it's Bruno Silva versus Alex Pereira. I think that's how you say his name. Alex Pereira. I'm going to get better at pronouncing these weird names. I can say them in my head perfectly fine. But when I actually have to speak them, it's very strange. But I like Bruno. I do. He isn't the most crisp striker, but he has that power, especially for the division of 185. Everybody, I mean, there's a lot of heavy hitters at 185, but Bruno was starching motherfuckers. They had three wins in a row coming into this fight. I like the matchmaking here too. Alex Pereira was coming off of facing a grappler, and to show that he actually did have well-rounded mixed martial arts skills, and he came into that fight getting a wrestle-heavy approach, and he figured that puzzle out. Flying knee up the middle, knocked him out. Good test there. And now he's going up against someone who's typically a striker with knockout power. See if he could figure that puzzle out. I think it was going to be a fun fight, and it ended up being a fun fight. I love the matchmaking here. I thought there was going to be a finish. I mean, shit, if I were a betting man, which I probably will be, if I'm more confident in some of these cards coming forward, but I would have definitely saw a finish coming here by either or. Bruno could have got him out of there. Alex Pereira definitely could have got him out of there. It went all 3 rounds to a decision, and I was impressed with Bruno. Like he lost the fight. Don't get me wrong. Alex was definitely piecing him up. He had a more diverse arsenal of attack with the kicks. He was going to the legs. He was going to the body. He was going to the head, and he was finding his way through the guard with his punches, hooks around the guard, uppercuts in between the guard. It's very impressive performance, but we all knew he was a dangerous striker. You know, he's not the only person, but he's famous for having defeated Israel Adesanya by knockout. So that's what he's famous for. Everybody knows that he was coming into the UFC with this diverse and very intelligent striking attack. So there's no surprises there. I was more impressed with Bruno because not only did he survive while he was in danger, he was also attacking back. It's not like he was just sitting there letting himself get pieced up. He was fighting back, and he was landing some decent shots. And he put a halt to his 3-fight win streak, but I would not be surprised to see him climb up the rankings and that be a matchup that we see again. I want to see a leap in Alex Pereira's MMA striking, though. I want to see a leap in that, because his display, although impressive, it wasn't like style bender impressive. I mean, I'm wearing my style bender shirt. I'm not trying to be biased here, but I will say that, you know, looking at that fight, I didn't think that display would put Izzy in danger. Maybe he would approach a fight with Izzy differently. Maybe he would game plan differently. His camp would be different. But that display just didn't look on par with the champ just yet. And I hope he's not slowing down. That's my thing. Like, I'm excited to see him climb up the ranks in some of these matchups he can have at 185. But, you know, he's 34 years old, and I think, you know, he's still in the prime of his career. Don't get me wrong. And people do have the primes of people's careers are getting longer if you're at that elite level. Just look at Blon Brunson. You know, He was still in his prime up until his mid to late 30s. So I think, and he's a wrestler too, and his chin has been tested, but he had like a bounce back resurgence because he's still in his physical prime. So I'm hoping that Alex Pereira can stay in his prime long enough so that we, the fans, can get that matchup with Israel Adesanya in MMA. I would love to see it. Drew Dober versus Terence McKee. And Terence McKee is a dog. Like, he is going to be trouble for people at 155. If he could figure out how to, hone in that anxious aggression, and because he's used to starching people in the first round, and he could have fucking starched Drew Dober, if we're being honest. But if he can, like, hone in that anxious aggression to want to fucking murder people, and just be a tad bit more patient and look for those holes and then unleash, he's going to be fucking dangerous. Like, this was a 1 round banger of a fucking fight. My fight of the night. Drew Dober was getting swarmed. And Drew Dober, he can take a fucking crack, boy. Do you see his chin? Do you see Drew Dober's chin? Drew Dober, my God, you can grate cheese on that man's jawline. He can fucking take a crack. And he got mauled by Islam Makhachev. But this was going to be a stand-up affair. I kind of liked his odds going into this, even with Terence McKee coming in on 2 weeks' notice. I liked his odds even more, but Terence made it look scary, boy. He made it look scary there for a second. He has just not, like I said, just few tweaks. This guy's going to be a fucking savage at 155. But I'm happy for Drew. He's a fucking UFC vet. He never seems to be able to get over the hump and reach that elite level of competition yet. He called out Bobby Green. I guess that's a decent call out. Bobby Green is another exciting fighter. I guess he wants a stand-up affair, which is probably going to be a nice fight night, probably co-main. I don't see that being a main event the way that Bobby just lost. No disrespect to Bobby, but he stepped in on short notice too. But, I think Terence McKee has what it takes to reach that top echelon and reach that elite level, because not only is he dangerous on the feet, the boy can scrap and he can grapple. I think that's the big hole in Drew Dober's game. That's why he's never been able to reach that top elite level. And then I think we got Khalil Roundtree's fight next with Karl Roberson. Yeah, Khalil Roundtree and Karl Roberson. Khalil is another one of those guys who I love, UFC vet. He changed his style a few different times. He changed his style. He changed his stance several times throughout his career. He came into this fight with a really low stance, very odd, but he got it done. Like, he was a savage when he was ending that fight. He put that fight away. And when I say away, he like did a thrust kick that looked like some shit you do to a nigga outside that's trying to break into your car. He like hiding behind the car. You just kind of like thrust and stomp him. He did a nigga stomp at the end of that fight. He tried to, at least. It didn't connect. Sadiq Youssef versus Alex Caceres. It was a decent fight. I'm kind of sad that Alex Caceres lost that fight. He's like one of my favorite fighters to watch growing up. I'm a fan of his. I'm a big fan of his fighting style. He's always had a problem with, people that pressure him. If he gets pressured, or someone who chain wrestles. But he had a resurgence in his career as well. He's 33, I believe, 33 years old. And he's still in his fighting prime. On a 5-fight win streak. I think I might be incorrect here, but this is the longest win streak that he's had in his UFC career. And I just wanted to see him do something big. Like, get a top 10 opponent, maybe headline a UFC Fight Night. Because he's just so fun to watch. And he has like a traditional martial arts soul, I think. The way he bows, the way he delivers his techniques. And of course, you gotta love the hair, right? You gotta love the hair. You gotta love the nickname, Bruce Leroy. He brings it every time. Style and flair 5-fight win streak halted by Sadiq Yusuff. And, it was a decent fight. I wouldn't say that it was exciting. And then we had the co-main with Magic Marlin Moraes and Song Yadong, who's a sleeper in the 135-pound division. Song Yadong is China's greatest export since Zhang Weili. I know that's a bold statement, but I do think Song Yadong is going to be knocking on the door of contention for the title maybe by early next year. I think that's a prediction that I am willing to stand on. I mean, of course, with everyone, you have to figure out the grappling. And I think he's well-rounded enough to where he's working on it in camp. But if you have to stand with Song Yadong, you're in trouble. And he clipped Magic Marlin, I believe with a left lead uppercut, cracked him. Nothing, no follow-up needed. And that's 4 in a row for Marlin Moraes. He took off the gloves, still a very young man. But that's 4 in a row. And you would have never thought that would be him just a few years after the way that he KO'd the current quote-unquote champion, Aljamain Sterling. Just the way that he was on a rise, looking vicious and unstoppable at one point. And I think what did it is he just ran into prime Henry Cejudo, like a lot of people did. Like Henry Cejudo will probably not get the credit that he's due because of the way that he talks and how early he just walked away from the sport. But prime Henry Cejudo was a savage, boy. You did not want to run into him, especially when he figured the hands out. When he could always wrestle. He could always scrap. He could always grind out a victory. That's how he took the title off of Demetrius Johnson. But once he figured out the hands and he got into that wider karate stance, he just fucked Marlon Moraes up. He fucked him up. He fucked TJ Dillashaw up. He fucked him up. And sorry, Dominic Cruz, he fucked him up too. And then he was like, all right, I'm done with this shit. He got tired of fucking people up. I wish he would have just stayed a little longer. But yeah, Marlon Moraes hasn't looked the same since that loss to me. And he's on a skid. I hope he doesn't retire. But if he does, kudos to you, sir. You had a brilliant career. Some great highlights. I still think the way that you made Aljamain do the dab is fucking hilarious. But big win for Song Yadong. I think he's going to be in the title picture, like I said, early next year. I don't know who I would like to see him fight. I don't think the Dominic Cruz fight is going to happen. I would like it to happen, but I don't think Dominic Cruz would take that fight. Then we have the main event of Thiago Santos versus Ankalaev. And it was a fight. It was a fight. And I never want to disrespect anybody, because it takes heart to get in there, especially when you're dealing with two giant motherfuckers like Thiago Santos and Ankalaev. And it's dangerous. Every time you swing, you can get knocked the fuck out. And every time you connect, or every time you miss with the punch, you're at risk of getting your fucking lights put out. But it just wasn't a high-paced affair. It wasn't a high-output affair. It was like chess. It was a very high-risk chess game, where it seemed to me that Ankalaev was trying to land that right hand over the shoulder every time Thiago would throw a jab out there or throw a kick, and would leave himself exposed on that side of his body. It looked like he was trying to land that over and over again. And he got clipped a couple of times by that punch. I think he was trying to figure out how to, in game, he was trying to figure out a strategy to change that. Because during the fight, I think he wanted to have a very kick-heavy approach, and it just didn't happen that way. He wasn't gauging the distance well, and he kept getting pressured back against the fence, and he wasn't fighting well off the back foot, and he just couldn't stay away from the fence. And Ankalaev just won that fight with pressure. It wasn't much pace, but just pressure, controlling the center of the octagon, connecting with the better combinations and punches. But still, Thiago, he's not done. I don't think he's done. But he needs to just pull the trigger, man. Like, meet in the middle. I know it's easy for me to fucking say, but you got to meet in the middle if you're gonna risk it. You know, you're risking your ranking, you're risking your spot. You know, if you want to be champion again, you know, you gotta take some risk. You gotta be risky. But Ankalaev is gonna be tough to beat. I think Alexander Rakic would be a good fight for him. I don't know if he would take that fight, but I think that would be a good fight. Seeing that Yuri Prochazka is going to fight Glover for the title. Maybe Jan Blachowicz. Once again, I don't know if Jan's going to take that fight. I don't know if Jan and Yuri are going to fight. I mean, Jan and Alexander Rakic is going to fight. So 205, it's kind of in a flux right now since John Jones vacated the title. 205 is in a flux, and I think, you know, it's kind of that era after Chuck and Tito, you know, because Tito had it for a while. After Chuck, Tito, and Randy Couture, I should say, because Tito had it for a while, then, you know, Randy, and then Chuck, and then after that, it was just the title was up for grabs. You know, you got your Rampage Jacksons in there, you got your Forrest Griffins in there, you got your Lyoto Machidas in there, you know, you got your Shogun Huas in there. So I think it's really up for grabs. The only person I see that could in that division right now, because he hasn't showed me anything different, the only person I think that could really hold on to that title and give it a nice long run since, you know, John Jones and DC's era has ended is Yuri Prochazka. I might be wrong. Only time will tell. So that is my review of UFC Fight Night. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time.